I'm Marie. I'll never forget the day they read my grandmother's will. It was a day that turned my world upside down, but also a day when the truth finally came to light. The room was tense, filled with an uncomfortable silence. My cousin Lily looked me straight in the eye and declared me a thief. Every head in the room nodded in agreement. My uncle, Mr. Thompson, folded his arms, as if the verdict was already sealed. My aunt, Mrs. Thompson, pressed her lips together and stared right through me. I sat there, my hands flat on the table, speechless. What was the point of arguing with people who had already made up their minds? But what they didn't know was that my grandmother, Mrs. Amelia Thompson, had spent the last 4 months of her life quietly gathering evidence. It wasn't in a courtroom, and she didn't have a lawyer's help. Instead, she did it from her hospital bed, using a laptop and a cloud account I had set up for her. The lawyer, Mr. Harris, reached into a sealed envelope and pulled out a USB drive, a typed letter, and a pawn shop receipt. The sight of these items made the whole room hold its breath. I was as shocked as everyone else. Let me take you back to the beginning. My mother passed away when I was 15 due to a sudden heart attack. My father, unable to cope with the loss, left me and moved to another city. He left a note saying he was sorry, but that was all. Grandma Amelia took me in without hesitation. She was 62 years old and lived in a cozy 2-story house in a small town called Millfield. She had a kind heart and never made me feel like a burden. Sundays were our special time. She would wake up early, around 6:30 in the morning, and start making her famous apple pie. She'd use apples from the old tree in her backyard, a pinch of cinnamon from a jar that had been in the pantry for years. She'd put the pie in the oven and then sit with me at the kitchen table, sharing stories about her youth. I worked hard to put myself through college. I got a degree in computer science and landed a job in software development. I moved to a nearby city, about an hour away from Millfield. But I made sure to visit Grandma every Sunday, no matter the weather. Grandma was the only one who truly cared about me, and I wanted to do the same for her. However, the rest of the family was more interested in her money and possessions. Uncle Thompson was 60 years old. He had a high-pressure job in sales, but his business had been struggling lately. He drove a luxury car that he could barely afford, and he had refinanced his house 3 times. Aunt Thompson was a social butterfly. She was always involved in community events and loved to show off on social media. Their daughter, Lily, was 28. She worked in fashion and spent money like there was no tomorrow. Lily and I used to be close as kids, but as we grew older, she became jealous of the time I spent with Grandma. Grandma often praised me for my dedication and hard work, which made Lily see me as a threat. 14 months before the will reading, Grandma had an accident. She was reaching for a photo album on the top shelf of her closet when she lost her balance and fell. I got the call at work and rushed to her house as fast as I could. When I arrived, I found her sitting on the floor, a bit shaken but more annoyed than hurt. After that incident, I decided to install a home security system. I put 2 cameras inside the house, one at the front door and one in the living room. I configured the cloud backup myself, ensuring that every clip was automatically uploaded to an encrypted storage on a paid plan. I created the account under Grandma's name, email, and password, and then removed my own access to respect her privacy. A few months later, things started to go missing from Grandma's house. First, it was a silver locket that had been in the family for generations. Then, a pair of diamond earrings. Grandma noticed the missing items, but didn't say much at first. She thought she might have misplaced them. But Aunt Thompson started to plant seeds of doubt. One day, she came to visit Grandma and said, "Amelia, you should think about who has access to your house. Things seem to be disappearing." She looked straight at me when she said this. I tried not to let it get to me. I knew I was innocent, and I believed that the truth would come out eventually. But the situation got worse. Lily created a family group chat and didn't invite me. I found out about it by accident when Grandma showed me a message from the group. It was clear that they were trying to build a case against me. Grandma's health started to decline. She was diagnosed with heart disease, and her days were spent mostly in her favorite armchair in the living room. I visited her more often, bringing her homemade meals and spending time with her. One day, Grandma looked at me and said, "Marie, don't worry about me. I see more than they think." I didn't understand what she meant at the time, but I just nodded and kissed her forehead. Then, Grandma passed away in her sleep. It was a Tuesday morning. I received the call from the nurse and rushed to her house. When I got there, I went to her bedroom to get her address book. I opened the cedar box on her dresser, and to my shock, the pearl necklace that she always talked about was gone. I knew then that someone in the family had taken it. The funeral was a somber affair. Uncle Thompson gave a eulogy, talking about family values and love, but I could see through his words. Aunt Thompson greeted the guests with a fake smile, and Lily posted a sad-looking photo on social media. After the funeral, the family started to make accusations. Aunt Thompson made comments at the reception, hinting that I was the one responsible for the missing items. A few days later, Uncle Thompson called me and said, "Marie, we're not accusing you, but some things are missing, and you were around a lot." I felt a deep sense of betrayal. These were my family members, and they were treating me like a criminal. But I decided to stay calm. I knew that Grandma had something up her sleeve. A week before the will reading, I went to Grandma's house to pick up some of my things. I heard Uncle Thompson on the phone in the dining room. He was desperate, talking about how he was on the verge of losing his house. I felt a moment of pity for him, but then he saw me and his attitude changed. He accused me of being in the house too often and warned me to be careful with Grandma's valuables. That night, I thought about the cameras. I knew that if anyone had taken the items, the footage would show it. But I didn't have access to the cloud account. I had removed my own access to respect Grandma's privacy, and now it was locking me out of the only evidence that could clear my name. Aunt Rose, Grandma's younger sister, called me one day. She showed me a screenshot of the group chat. It was clear that they had planned to frame me. Aunt Rose said, "Amelia would have wanted you to have this." I saved the screenshot, but I didn't confront them. I knew that the best way to expose the truth was to let the system I built do its work. The day of the will reading finally arrived. I put on a simple black dress and drove to Mr. Harris's office. When I entered the room, I saw Uncle Thompson, Aunt Thompson, Lily, and a few other relatives. The atmosphere was tense. Mr. Harris started by reading the preamble of the will. Then Lily interrupted. She stood up and said, "Before we go further, we need to address the issue of the missing jewelry. We all know who had the most access to Grandma's house." She didn't say my name, but everyone knew who she was talking about. Aunt Thompson pulled out a list of the missing items, and Uncle Thompson nodded in agreement. They were trying to convict me, without any real evidence. I sat there, silent, my heart pounding. I was on the verge of leaving, but Aunt Rose squeezed my hand, giving me the strength to stay. Then Mr. Harris said, "Mrs. Thompson anticipated this moment. She left an addendum to the will and some supporting materials." He opened the sealed envelope and started to read the letter. In the letter, Grandma explained how she had noticed the missing items and decided to investigate. She said that she had taught herself how to access the cloud account and reviewed all the footage. She knew exactly who had been stealing from her. Mr. Harris plugged the USB drive into his laptop and showed the footage. The first clip showed Uncle Thompson sneaking into Grandma's bedroom one night and taking the silver locket. The second clip showed Lily taking the pearl necklace while Grandma was asleep. The room went silent. Uncle Thompson's face turned pale, and Lily started to deny everything, saying that the footage was fake. But Mr. Harris explained that the security system was legal, and Grandma had every right to record in her own home. Then Mr. Harris read the rest of the letter. Grandma said that she didn't blame them, but she wouldn't let me take the fall for their actions. She left everything to me, the one who had been there for her without expecting anything in return. Uncle Thompson tried to contest the will, saying that Grandma was not in her right mind. But Mr. Harris showed the results of a cognitive evaluation that Grandma had taken a few days before she passed away. She had scored in the 95th percentile for her age group. In the end, Uncle Thompson signed a restitution agreement to repay the appraised value of all the stolen items, which totaled over $35,000. Lily deactivated her social media accounts, and Aunt Thompson stopped her social media show-offs. I decided not to pursue criminal charges. I believed in Grandma's forgiveness. I moved back into Grandma's house, and I kept all the memories alive. Sundays are still special. Aunt Rose comes to visit, and we sit in the kitchen, eating apple pie and sharing stories. The truth has finally prevailed, and I've learned that sometimes the quiet ones have the loudest voices. Grandma may be gone, but her spirit lives on in the justice that was served.